Heaven just pulled your name out of the crowd and put it in a private room. You can't hear what God is about to do in your life over the noise, and you can't get it if you're distracted. This is not a random time. This isn't a quick scroll. This is a divine appointment, and it happens at the exact time that was inscribed over your name before you were born. Heaven has evacuated the room, and just you are left standing. You are not here by chance. The Spirit has called you here for a kairos moment, which is a time set by God. There is a time for everything under heaven, and this is your time. The delay hasn't been a refusal. The silence hasn't been a lack of sound. It has been getting ready. You are on the edge of a supernatural change. Anointed One, what has been growing in secret is ready to become real. What has been said in prayer is going to come true. God isn't calling you apart to keep you alone. He's calling you aside to give you something. Heaven speaks your name when it wants to give you something holy. This is the hour of separation before elevation, the hour when the Father communicates plainly to those who can hear him. It is stated that deep beckons to deep. Today, the depth of heaven is calling to the depth within you. You were picked for this moment. You were kept safe for this talk. And what is happening now is not simply information. It is change. Chosen One, take this holy break. God doesn't always remind us by loud statements or explanations. When your strength is low, faith can sometimes be something peaceful, basic, and stable that you can always go back to. There is a peaceful space below where your spirit can settle with that silence. Before we go to part 1, Chosen One, the noise has stopped. The room is empty. And heaven has made it very apparent that this next word is only for you. What is happening right now is not normal, not usual, and not something to share with a lot of people. This is a private call, a sacred break in the middle of your daily life, a sign that God is bringing you to a point where you can receive revelation without any problems. When heaven takes you from public space to sacred space, it is never to make you less, it is always to prepare you. And while you read this, there is a separation happening in the spirit that has nothing to do with rejection and everything to do with divine insulation. God is bringing you closer because what he is about to give you is too important to take lightly. This moment has a weight to it, a spiritual heaviness that asks for calm, honesty, and full attention. You might not know it yet, but you are in a moment that was planned for you long before you got there. This exact juncture was planned by heaven. Your steps have been led, your timing has been perfect, and your heart has been softened just enough to receive what God has planned for you alone. In a packed room, some instructions will never be given, some mistakes will never be made public. And certain comforts are so personal that God waits for a moment when your defenses are down enough to feel them. You have been carrying noise, Anointed One, outside voices telling you who you should be by now, memories of worries that won't go away, the strain to satisfy expectations, the load of attempting to interpret your own future, and the quiet irritation of feeling like no one sees or hears you, without your permission. These things have been changing you, but pay close attention because God is saying that your spirit has to start over. Come closer, says God, come closer, not to a podium, a performance, or religion as a ritual, but to a relationship that is alive and burning. Get closer so the distortion can go away. Come closer so you can hear me better. Come closer so that God might bring everything back into line. In a loud environment, what he intends to say next won't make sense. It takes a heart that is ready to give up, a mind that is clear enough to see the truth, and a will that is ready to quit arguing with what you already know is from God. The enemy has been unrelenting because he knows what you frequently forget. Being close to God gives you influence in the Spirit. He understands that one meeting in the hidden area can reverse months of his attacks. He knows that prayer may give you insight that turns into unshakable confidence. He knows that when you hear the Father's voice, all other voices lose their power. That's why there are more distractions now. That's why your feelings have been stretched so thin. That's why skepticism has been saying, nothing is happening, God isn't speaking, you're wasting your time. But listen to this with spiritual clarity. Every attack on your private spot shows that something big is going on there. The opponent doesn't fight things that don't matter. This isn't about feelings, it's about work. This is alignment. This is a spiritual battle for your future. Heaven is pulling you into a private conversation because what God is about to give you can't be affected by what people who have never been through what you have think. Some seasons need to be kept secret because the seed is too weak to withstand being seen. Some promises need to be kept safe until they come true. And some secrets are only given to people who have proven that they will treat them with respect. If you've been feeling different, like your circle has gotten smaller, your talks have gotten quieter, and your desires have changed, it's not a sign that you've been abandoned, it means you have been chosen. Being alone in the Spirit is not punishment, it is preparation. Heaven keeps what it cherishes hidden until the right time. You are being improved, not turned down. You are being formed, not set aside. I know what it's like to go through a season when the silence is loud and the waiting seems to go on forever. There have been evenings when it felt like God had stood back and my prayers were falling into an empty room. I later found out that God was not gone. He was making something in me that couldn't handle incessant cacophony. The private fights led to public strength. The years that were buried provided the basis for the season I'm in today. You are going through the same thing, chosen one. Heaven is helping you separate who you are from what other people demand of you. God takes away the burden to perform and lets you become who you are in the secret place. You stop saying you're sorry for how He made you. You cease getting smaller to fit into a room you were never meant to be in. You stop living by other people's definitions and start living by what He says you are. Everything changes when God shows who you are. Your prayers go from asking to working together. You go from worshiping out of habit to out of need. Instead of fear, you make judgments based on insight. Anointed One, God is changing the way you feel inside. He is getting you ready for a supernatural change, a transfer of clarity, authority, and supply that only someone who has been through a private process can handle. You're entering a time when what was built in secret will start to show up in public, but the base has to be solid, the roots need to be deep, the identification has to be real. Chosen one, listen. What God is making anew right now is exactly what the next season will need. And even if things seem tranquil, heaven is active, heaven is close, heaven is getting you ready for a moment that will be unlike anything you've ever seen. When you're ready, I'll go on to part 2. Chosen one, the world around you is changing, even if your eyes haven't caught up to it yet. This stillness you've been strolling through isn't empty. It is the sound of heaven moving your feet, changing your spirit, and getting the ground ready for something heavier than anything you've ever carried. What seems like a delay is really God's timing. What seems like a limit is really a safety measure. And what seems like darkness is actually the veil that God puts over people He wants to show at the right moment. There comes a time in every person's life when God stops talking to everyone and starts whispering to the one He has chosen. You are there now. The change is little but clear. Your heart has been feeling that something is being built underneath the surface. You can't fully describe it or quantify it yet. That is the sign that a destiny has reached its time. Heaven moves slowly before it moves quickly, and you are right there in that calm. You've been wondering why past wants have faded, why places you used to feel at home in don't feel like home anymore, and why talks you used to enjoy now sound like noise. Heaven has raised your frequency, which is why you are outgrowing the places that used to support you. Your spirit can't settle down since you were never meant to stay where you used to fit. A chosen vessel can't stay in areas that are meant for everyone. You have been made holy without even knowing it. God is getting you ready for a divine advancement, and with it comes holy discomfort. I have lived this, chosen one. There were times in my life when everything I knew started to change all at once. Friendships changed, there were no more chances. Without warning, doors that used to be open shuttered. I believed I was going to lose everything for a while. I didn't know that God was cutting back on my life so that my roots could grow deeper before the next level asked more of me. Sometimes growth looks like getting smaller instead of getting bigger, but heaven never takes away without wanting to give more, and that is what God is doing in you right now. You are getting ready for a supernatural appointment, a time when everything you went through in silence will suddenly make sense. There is a divine transfer coming, and your spirit is already feeling its effects. This transfer isn't just about money. It also includes provision. It is not just emotional, but it does have healing and clarity in it. This is a change in position, power, and spiritual weight. Heaven is giving you more responsibility because your character has been loyal even when things were hard. The secret place is not a hiding place, anointed one. It is a place to train. God teaches you to listen without needing noise, to trust without needing signs, and to obey without needing assurances. And as you go through this kind of training, heaven starts to give you things that normal faith can't handle. That's why God has been quiet at times, not gone, quiet enough to improve your ability to tell the difference, quiet enough to make you more dependent. So quiet that you can hear the difference between his voice and all the other voices trying to take your identity. You are being made into someone who can handle divine tasks without falling apart. And as this formation goes on, you will start to see something amazing. The pressure you used to be scared of starts to feel like proof. The stretching that used to bother you now feels like alignment. The silence you used to flee is starting to seem like home. This is God's work changing your inner world so that your outside world can finally match the destiny that has been written over your life. Chosen one, the enemy knew about this change long before you did. That's why the attacks got worse. That's why there were more distractions. That's why things got mixed up. Before a heavenly reveal, the enemy always fights the hardest, but make sure you hear this in your spirit. You have already survived what was meant to break you. All of the assignments that caused misunderstanding failed. All distractions lost their hold. Every time someone tried to get you off track, it simply showed how strong what God has been creating in you is. And now heaven is starting to talk again, not loudly, but clearly. God is putting you on a path that will lead to chances that were once out of grasp. He is guiding you to areas where your name has already been mentioned and rooms you haven't been to yet. He is leading you into connections that are important, not just easy, and he is taking away anything that can't go with you into your next season. This isn't to punish you, but to protect what he is growing. You are entering a time in your life when being obedient will open doors faster than hard work ever could. where giving up will get you results that trying hard never did. Being in sync with God's timing will bring about results that no human strategy could ever bring about. This is what divine acceleration feels like when it starts. It starts out slowly, then it can't be stopped. But please understand this. God can't put new oil in a vessel that still has old sores. This is why this time of isolation is so vital. God is not only putting you in the right place, He is also cleaning you up. He is getting rid of old stories, false identities, and agreements you've made with yourself that have been quietly holding you back. He is reminding you of who you really are in this secret place. Not who other people thought you should be, not who old voices said you were, but who God made you to be, chosen one. You need to understand that nothing about this time is random. You are not drifting, you are being pulled. You really do sense the shift. The planning is on purpose. And the breakthrough that has seemed to take a long time to happen is finally coming into view. Heaven is starting to line up your steps with the exact timing needed for what is going to happen. There is a reason why heaven keeps calling you to be still, chosen one. You are in the middle of a spiritual recalibration right now, which is like resetting your inner compass. God is not just making you stronger, He is also changing the frequency of your spirit so you may see things that others miss and hear things that others ignore. You are being tuned for your destiny, and tuning is never quiet. It hums under the surface of your life, changing your ideas, changing your wants, and waking up aspects of your calling that you didn't know were asleep. You have felt the draw, anointed one. Something inside you keeps telling you that more is coming, greater responsibility, more clarity, and more spiritual authority. This feeling inside you isn't just your imagination. Heaven is telling you that you need to be a different person in the next chapter of your life. A version formed by closeness instead of action, surrender instead of trying, and being close instead of performing. God doesn't want you to be stunning, He wants you to be available. You might have realized that you don't want to do the same things you used to do. What used to make me happy now seems empty. What used to be fun now seems like a waste of time. This shows that things are changing. When heaven starts to lift up a chosen vessel, the soul stops caring about things that don't help it reach its goal. You aren't losing interest in the world, you are waking up to your destiny. The cacophony around you is starting to fade away as wisdom from above takes hold, and soon, the change inside you will change the world around you. Chosen one, let me be clear, what you've been feeling frustrated about is not failure, it is spiritual contraction. The pain of change and the stress of outgrowing things that no longer bring you grace. You are letting go of an old job and starting a new one. And that change is making you feel things that the people around you might not comprehend. But that's the beauty of divine refinement. Your spirit knows what your mind hasn't fully understood yet. I remember a time when everything I knew felt too small. I couldn't tell anyone what it was, not even myself. It wasn't sad, it wasn't a case of being confused, it was speeding up. God was dragging me out of habits that used to work for me but weren't working for the person I was becoming. And it wasn't until I entered the next season that I realized heaven had been getting me ready for a job I didn't know I would have. That same holy preparation is happening in your life right now. Heaven keeps calling you into private spaces for this reason, not to isolate you, but to help you hear better, to separate your identity from the voices that used to define you, and to protect the seed He planted in you from the influence of people who would speak from their own assumptions instead of God's will. The secret place isn't a place to hide, It is where the spiritual framework for your future is being built. Listen intently, Anointed One, you are getting ready for a miraculous revelation, a divine rise that will not be subtle when the moment is right. Heaven is planning your steps so well that even when you have to wait, it's still the right time. At this hour, God starts to connect you with people who have the keys to your next season, mentors, intercessors, kingdom partners, and strategical eyes you never thought you would meet. He is also getting rid of those who could change the course of your life. Some departures are really protection in disguise, and this is when your faith needs to stay strong. You are closer to a breakthrough than you think. The heaviness does not indicate failure, it signifies the process of giving birth. Destiny always pushes on before it reveals itself. The closer you go to a spiritual release, the more pressure you feel. Heaven isn't pushing you, it's pushing something through you. Chosen One, what God is making in you needs more than just emotional stimulation. It needs spiritual growth. That is why He is teaching you to be still. That's why He is teaching you how to tell the difference. That's why He is taking away the requirement for outside approval. He is getting you ready to carry something that will last forever and has to be cared for by someone who can hear Him clearly even when the world is loud. This next season will require more obedience, but it will also be more forgiving. You won't walk into it with fear, you will walk into it with the confidence of someone who has been sculpted by the hand of God. People who used to ignore you will now be amazed at how you got so clear, so powerful, and so fast. Heaven is rewriting your story in real time. Anointed One, God has told doors that were formerly closed to open. Opportunities that passed you by before will now come to you. The same locations that made you feel little will be the ones that help you grow, but you need to know that the change is starting on the inside before it shows up on the outside. That's why God continues saying, "Come closer." That's why all the distractions have been taken away. That's why your spirit feels more aware, more sensitive, and more awake. You are not making this up. You are beginning to see who you have always been, chosen, blessed, and set apart for a cause that is too important to haste. Chosen One, Heaven is not getting you ready for a tiny rise. You are being positioned for a supernatural shift that will touch every dimension of your life, spiritual, emotional, relational, and yes, even financial. But before the transfer can happen, the change has to happen first, and it is already happening. Chosen One, your spirit has been feeling the weight of change for a cause. You are at a turning point, a place where you are between who you were and who God wants you to be. Heaven doesn't beckon someone to be alone unless they are about to be free, and at this moment, you are closer to divine manifestation than your feelings have led you to believe. Your life is not stuck, it is coming together. Heaven has been sending you subtle messages, changes in your relationships, changes in what you want, and startling clarity about what you no longer need in your life. These signs aren't random, they show that you are spiritually growing. When God chooses someone for a quick season, He starts taking away anything that can't handle the blessing. This is why certain doors shut. This is why people you knew became less close. This is why your spirit didn't want to settle into previous habits. Heaven was telling me to get ready. I've been through this before. Before God changed my mission, He always changed my surroundings first. Although not in a big way, one talk felt odd, one wish went away, there was an unexpected chance that came up, one partnership came to an end. I didn't get the rhythm back then, but subsequently, I learned that Heaven always changes your surroundings before it changes your fate. And Selected One, The same thing is happening around you, but you need to know this. Spiritual elevation is never only about getting good things on the outside, it starts with an awakening from inside. God is making you stronger so you can hear Him better, trust Him more, and carry more spiritual weight without breaking down under stress. That's why your inner world has felt stretched. You are not falling apart, you are getting stronger. And growth frequently feels like stress until you see where it goes. Chosen one, heaven is getting you ready for a supernatural transfer of insight, clarity, influence, provision, and spiritual authority. But before God gives someone resources that affect whole countries and generations, He first works on their heart in private. You have been through that refining. You have traveled through nights when you wondered if God still saw you. You have been through times when nothing changed, yet your spirit was still uneasy. You have made pledges that felt heavy because they were bigger than what you were living through at the time. These were not signs that someone had left. They were indicators that God was making your foundation stronger so that you could handle what was coming. Listen with your spirit. Anointed one, heaven is putting you on the right path to your true calling. The separation you went through wasn't punishment, it was a way to put you in the right place. God hid you so that you wouldn't hear voices that would have said bad things about what He was doing inside of you. He protected you from what other people wanted you to be so He could shape the identity He wanted you to have, not the one life gave you. You weren't forgotten, you were kept, and now heaven is starting to lift the veil. Your ability to make decisions is getting better, your dreams are getting clearer, your spirit is waking up early in the morning for no reason. These are clues that something is happening, something that was asleep is now waking up. Things that were quiet are starting to talk again. God is helping you see things you used to disregard. You can feel changes before they happen. You are seeing spiritual patterns that you couldn't see before. This is what happens when someone is picked to do a job for God. Chosen one, you won't be able to enter your following season without thinking about it. It will be entered with purpose through obedience, awareness, and alignment. Heaven is carefully directing your next actions since making the wrong choice could delay what God wants to give you. This is why your peace is so hard to find. This is why your spirit reacts to places that used to feel safe. You are learning how to tell the difference between good and God. Your sensitivity isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of calibration. Anointed one, really listen to this truth. You are entering a time when God will start to show you the reasons for every delay. One day you will look back and see that the timing you doubted was the timing that saved you. Heaven was not late, heaven was right. You were being put in touch with events, people, and chances that needed divine timing. God is making a way for you to follow that will have more of an effect than your hard work ever could. You can't see how your steps are being ordered yet, but you will feel the truth. It will come out of nowhere and bring peace where there was once chaos. It will show up in chances that are a perfect fit for your skills. It will come up in conversations that bring something out of you that has been sleeping. Chosen one, what is happening this season is not normal, it is supernatural. God is getting you ready for a level of provision and power that you can't get by working hard. There won't be any manipulation, networking, or pushing your way forward when the transfer comes. It will happen because heaven opens a door that no one can close, but the vessel has to be ready before the door opens. That's why God has been taking away fear, doubt, the need for approval, and the need to hurry. He is teaching you to move to the beat of the Spirit, not the rush of the world. He is replacing worry with understanding, hard work with sensitivity, and tiredness with hope. Chosen one, let this sink in. Nothing you lost was meant to keep you from moving on to the next season. God took away everything that was in the way of your rise. You are entering a time when heaven goes ahead of you, chosen one. You have reached a turning point in the spirit, a moment when heaven starts to show you what was hidden before. Everything you've done so far has brought you to this point. The nights that were quiet, the questions that went unanswered, and the spiritual pull you couldn't explain were all worth it. There was nothing random about it. Every moment has made you into someone who can handle what God is about to give you. And now the weight of fate is starting to feel different for you. You can sense it, you can feel it. Even if you can't see the whole picture yet, something is changing. Anointed One, the supernatural doesn't always make a lot of noise when it shows up. It can come as a whisper, a sudden understanding, or a holy discomfort that pushes you to reach higher. You've been feeling like the ground is moving under your feet, like familiar things are slipping away, and like your spirit is reaching for something you can't quite put into words. This is a sign that your destiny is getting bigger. You are not being destroyed, you are being rebuilt into someone who can handle spiritual authority, divine insight, and kingdom work. But please understand this, God always changes someone privately before he promotes them publicly, and you have changed more deeply than you know. You lived through seasons that you thought would kill you. You stayed strong even when everything around you felt shaky. You kept looking for God even when it seemed like silence was the only answer. That determination did not go unnoticed. Heaven kept track of every tear, every prayer, and every time you chose not to give up, even when it would have been easier to do so. Being faithful when no one is looking is the start of rising, chosen one. You are entering a time when heaven will begin to shine a light on you. Not because you asked for it, not because you fought for it, but because God is putting his hand on you and saying, it is time. When heaven marks a moment, nothing on earth or in the spirit realm can stop it, and the timing in your life is starting to speed up in a way that is beyond your control. This is why you don't feel scared by old pressures anymore, why old fears don't bother you anymore. Why your spirit is at peace even when things are unclear. God has been quietly helping you grow by changing the way you hear, think, and respond. Things that used to make you angry now teach you. What hurt you before now makes you stronger. What used to make things unclear for you now makes them clear. This is proof that you are growing spiritually. Heaven is changing your inner world so you can handle the next level of destiny. Heaven is getting you ready for your divine duty. Anointed One. You will go to places where your presence changes the mood. You will say things that mean more than what you know. The choices you make will affect not only your own life, but also the lives of others who are connected to your assignment. That's why the enemy has been trying to break your confidence by making you doubt yourself and causing you to be confused. He knows the rise is coming, he can feel the rise in power, and he knows that his power over you will end when you fully embrace who you are as a child of God. But the battles that chosen vessels fight don't define them, the grace that keeps them going does. And grace has been keeping you going in ways you didn't even know about. You are still standing, listening, and looking for God. This is a sign that heaven is getting ready to give you something amazing. Your strength is proof, chosen one. A change in finances is coming, not the kind that comes from trying hard or being stressed out, but the kind that comes from divine orchestration. Heaven lines up resources, connections, contracts, ideas, and chances that are right for the job God has given you. This isn't about getting rich to be comfortable, it's about getting what you need to do what you want. God pays for what he chooses, and he is choosing you for more. I've seen this happen to me before. There were times when I lost everything I knew and the way ahead seemed impossible, but every time, without fail, God gave in ways that didn't make sense. I got what I needed through surprise calls, unplanned connections, and sudden chances that fit perfectly with what God had been doing in my life spiritually. What felt like loss turned into getting ready for a divine change. That same change is coming for you, chosen one, not in the near future. Heaven is making sure the timing is right, but first, there must be clarity before the provision, and God has been giving you flashes of insight, ideas you didn't ask for, dreams that feel too big, and inner nudges that won't go away. Listen to these. They aren't random, they are the framework for your next season. The Spirit is teaching you how to recognize divine instruction, how to respond to spiritual prompting, and how to take care of tasks that affect more than just yourself. Anointed One, the biggest changes often happen when God tells you to let go of what is safe and welcome what is new. And this is where you are now, on a holy edge, a spiritual threshold. You can sense that heaven is calling you to something bigger, deeper, and more in line with who you really are. And even if you can't see the whole path, your spirit knows that this is a Kairos moment, a moment meant just for you to rise. Do not be afraid of what you don't understand, chosen one. Heaven will never send you to a place where grace won't be there. You are not going into this season by yourself. You are stepping into it with guidance, protection, and strength that is greater than your own. The pressure is going away, the clarity is coming, and the supernatural is starting to show itself. Chosen one, you are entering a dimension of purpose that necessitates a renewed comprehension of your identity and the identity that God has eternally recognized in you. The feeling inside you is not just your imagination, it is spiritual awakening. The sound of heaven is telling you that the season you've been praying for, waiting for, and going through is finally here. There is a divine pulse beneath your days now, a rhythm that pushes you forward even when you don't know why. It's because heaven is guiding you, not your mind. This is the hour when God starts to connect the dots of your journey. Anointed One, painful moments that were once unguarded suddenly make sense. Delays you once hated turn out to be part of God's plan. Relationships that ended without warning are necessary for your growth. And every question that hasn't been answered yet starts to fit into the bigger picture of your calling. There was no waste. There was no chance. God made every thread with care and on purpose, and He never leaves the work of His own design. You've been feeling the tension of being in between two seasons. The old one has ended, but the new one hasn't fully begun. This stress isn't meant to break you, it's meant to help you grow. Heaven often moves its chosen ones through this narrow passage because it is where clarity sharpens and identity settles. You are not just starting a new chapter, chosen one. You are becoming a new version of yourself, one that is more powerful, wise, and spiritually mature than you ever thought you could be. I am very familiar with this passage. There were times in my life when it felt like everything I knew was falling apart and nothing new was forming. I felt like I was stuck between who I was and who I was becoming. But I learned something important in that space. Heaven does its best work when no one can see it. God was changing things I didn't know about, making connections I didn't ask for, and building strength I didn't know I needed. It was clear that the pressure had been building up all along when the breakthrough finally happened. Chosen one, that same holy preparation is going on in you right now. You are getting stronger in places that no one can see. You are getting ready for jobs you haven't even thought of yet, You are being prepared to have an impact that will go beyond what you could have imagined as a child. God is changing the way you think and feel so that nothing outside of you will shake you when the elevation comes, and it will come. Heaven has already started to soften the ground under your feet, making room for new land, new duties, and new resources. You are not entering a time of chance, you are entering a season of divine order, a time when the right doors open at the right time, the right people show up with the right words, and the right opportunities come along at just the right time. Listen closely, Anointed One. Heaven is taking you out of survival mode and into planning mode. You are no longer meant to just live life, you are meant to change it. God is waking up your creativity, your spiritual gifts, your ability to tell right from wrong, and your voice. The ideas you thought were random are actually seeds from God. The things you wanted that you thought were too big are actually what heaven wants for you. You weren't thinking big enough before, now you are, but before things start to happen, you need to learn. Heaven is starting to talk to you more clearly through restlessness, moments of peace that come out of nowhere, dreams that stay with you, and insights that break up your day. Don't ignore these signs, they are the first signs of speed. Chosen one, you also need to know this. What you are getting into can't be done by human strength alone. Divine tasks need divine help. That's why God has let some supports go, not to hurt you, but to make sure you know exactly where the blessing came from when it comes. Heaven is keeping your dependence in the right place so that your rise to power doesn't lead to your downfall. You are entering a time when hidden seeds will start to break through the ground, where prayers you made years ago start to come back to you in a clear way, where chances that used to pass you by start looking for you. You aren't chasing blessing, blessing is starting to follow you. This is the change that God promised. When you work with His timing, speeding up becomes easy, doors open without any effort, provision comes without effort. Instead of guessing, you are guided by grace. And yes, a transfer is on the way, not one earned by hard work, but one given by God.